Mahalo nui loa, and we are reconvening the February 19th meeting of the Board of Trustees after completing our informational briefing on Native Hawaiian healthcare. And we mahalo and appreciate all those that attended and provided information for our beneficiaries. We're now moving on to the business of the board, and our next item on the agenda is going to be we need Trustee Alapa for that. So unanimous consent, we're okay if we take this out of order, we go to BAE? Okay. Hearing no objections, Chair now recognizes the Vice Chair of BAE, Trustee Akaka, for okay. Yeah, we start on the top. Okay, so we have the BAE committee and the Vice Chair will be presiding over that portion of the agenda today. So now I'll turn it over to Vice Chair Kaka for motion or various motions.
Okay, so we're going to go straight to item C2 through 9. And so I move to approve the OHA administration positions for matrices 2 through 9 as amended and approved at the February 18th, 2026 meeting of the Committee on Beneficiary Advocacy and Empowerment.
Trustees, any discussion on approving C2 through C9?
Okay, so C1 is regarding the 2026 OHA State Legislative Bill Package Matrix 1, and as there were no position changes, it didn't render the need to have a vote on that. We were specifically voting on the matrices that there were position changes, and usually if there's bills added to them, legislative bills.
So I guess in BAE yesterday there were no changes. In BAE yesterday there were no changes to the C1.
Yes, which is the OHA legislative package bills.
The 5 bills, the package bills. So today's action is to approve the changes made in BAE yesterday for C2 through 9.
Yes, so those are the matrices, the first one being the matrices with OHA named bills that name OHA, and then going down the list from OHA position on bills affecting the public land trust, OHA position on bills affecting natural resources and Native Hawaiian traditional and customary practices, on Native Hawaiian housing, on Native Hawaiian health, Native Hawaiian education, Native Hawaiian economic stability, and the very last matrix, which is regarding iwi kupuna and historic preservation.
So you're saying every one of them had amendments?
Yesterday. Do I have,
it's based on the positions provided and discussed on by administration, as well as the amendments to positions. And let me rephrase this. So also because of Sunshine Law and working in real time, the agenda has to also reflect what the understood or imagined position would be for that upcoming week. And sometimes there needs to be changes to adjust that, as well as being consistent with the position decision from the week prior's meeting, if that helps.
Yeah. I think the changes.
Wait, try turn your mic on.
Should have been transferred to the chair this morning and be part of today.
I can be very specific and read each single bill position. Would you prefer that?
No, I was here, so I understand. But I just want to make it correct for the record.
If I may, it's there's twofold. So yesterday, there were several that C1 was not voted on, and the position, per my discussion, was that these are OHA presented bills, so there's not going to be the vote on the C1s because these are our bills to push forward, and then we're going to have votes on all the others, and so all the others had votes, so that's what we are voting on today.
ratifying, yeah. Okay, and before we do that, public testimony on any of the C2 through 9 matrices.
There's no one signed up.
Okay. I hear no discussion. Let's have the board take a position and ratify those positions made yesterday in committee. Roll call.
Trustee Ahuna is excused. Trustee Akaka.
Aye.
Trustee Akina.
Aye.
Trustee Alapa. Trustee Galutaria is excused. Trustee Lindsay.
Aye.
Trustee Souza.
Aye.
Trustee Waihe'e.
Yes.
Chair Kahele.
Aye.
You have 7 yes votes.
Okay, great. We have a second item for BAE. Yeah. 2604, the authorization of sign-on to letter of support for the Hawaii Education Alliance Task Force.
To-
Okay.
Okay,
Recognize Chair Kaka.
yes. This motion is to authorize the chairperson of the Board of Trustees to sign the letter of support for the Hawaii Education Alliance Task Force on behalf of the Office of Foreign Affairs.
Public testimony on this action item? Okay, trustees discussion? All right, hearing none, roll call.
Aye.
Trustee Akina.
Aye.
Trustee Alapa.
Aye.
Trustee Galutaria is excused. Trustee Lindsay.
Aye.
Trustee Souza.
Aye.
Trustee Waihe'e.
Yes.
Chair Kahele.
All right,
You have 7 yes votes.
okay, great. Sure, yep, Chair Kaka.
So specifically on that item we just voted on, I want to touch on some points that I made yesterday in terms of what advocacy can look like when it comes to legislative matters and our advocacy in general. I think it has really good intent, this action item, and that I think that we need to come up with a system in which we put out the kahea and those that we are providing through the years and currently via grants, sponsorships, kako'o, whatever it is, that we have a network that we can reach out to and provide oral testimony or written testimony when it comes to pro rata share, when it comes to stewarding our lands and certain matters that are at the core of our advocacy efforts. Mahalo.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Kaka. Okay, our next item we're gonna go back to is BOT 2520. This is a Mana'i Mauli Ola Ad Hoc Committee action item. Do you have anyone signed up to speak on this?
There's no one signed up to speak on this item.
Okay, then Chair will now recognize Co-Chair of the MiMO Ad Hoc Committee, Co-Chair Alapa.
Yep, mahalo, Chair. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to amend the prior board action on action item BOT 25-20, December 18, 2025, to change the extended deadline of the Mana'i Mauli Ola, or MiMO Ad Hoc Committee to complete its remaining deliverables from February 27, 2026 to April 30th, 2026.
All right, thank you. Co-Chair Alapa, trustees, any discussion on this? Any background for the admin? Okay, we're good? All right, roll call.
Trustee Ahuna is excused. Trustee Akaka.
Aye.
Trustee Akina.
Aye.
Trustee Alapa. Trustee Galutaria is excused. Trustee Lindsay.
Aye.
Trustee Souza. Trustee Waihe'e.
Yes.
Chair Kahele.
All right,
You have 7 yes votes.
okay, thank you. We are now moving on to the next item on the agenda. This is the Committee on Budget and Finance. It's action item 2603. Chair recognizes the Chair of the BNF Committee, Chair Waihe'e.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move to approve the reallocation of $50,000 from account 57255, which is conference/meetings, strategy and implementation, to account 56540, which is grants in aid level 11. Oh, level two, within program 7110, which is educational pathways, to support the Ku'ika Lono Conference.
Okay, do you have anyone sign up to testify on this item? Okay, trustees, discussion? I have questions too, but I'll recognize Trustee Kaka.
Thank you. Simply that with any grant aid or sponsorship or grants that are provided, that OHA be acknowledged in their printed materials and or their digital materials and so forth. And after checking, it sounds like that is already in order, but just wanting to highlight that if it should be that that is not the case. Mahalo.
Okay, thanks, Trustee Kaka. Okay, I do have questions for the administration, so please come up. And first of all, to my fellow trustees, I apologize for not asking these questions yesterday. After we had voted and moved in, I read the action item in more detail, and I prompted questions that I had. And I checked with the chair after the fact and asked if it would be appropriate to bring up these questions today. So anyway, thank you for coming. First and foremost, when historically, OHA, through the contracts we've had with Kalo, has appropriated about $40,000 to this conference, which has been happening for decades now, right? And Kalo has always been in the lead. They've been, at least for as long as we can remember, been executing this particular contract. This past year, the board, in its most recently adopted biennial budget, shifted away from past practice of utilizing Kalo to fund our Hawaiian-focused charter schools and to be able to maximize the resource, appropriated funds directly to all 17 Hawaiian-focused charter schools. We increased amounts for everyone across the board, and especially those that had the highest per pupil counts, we increased them even more. What we also did was we increased the amount to the conference from $40,000 to $50,000. We added an extra $10,000 into this conference for this year and next year, right? The biennial budget. And in that proviso language, it was really broad. It was kind of a blank check. It was, hey, come back, director of S&I and the educational PIA director, present to the board by the fall on this particular conference. And there were really no restrictions in how the money could be spent. It was pretty broad, maybe how it was in years past. The one thing that caught my eye yesterday was the action item. Besides shifting the funding resource from where we had put it into this other vehicle, actually explicitly nuanced the utilization of the funds down to 3 specific items. So we went from blank check, here's $50,000, see as you wish, to we're only going to use the funds for 3 items. One of which is supporting the inter-island transportation for 221 students, 13 students coming from the 17 Hawaiian-focused charter schools. So those would be 221 students doing inter-island travel. Assuming there's also some students that already live on Kauai, so they don't have inter-island travel. The second would be ground transportation for, looks like all the participants. It's not specific to the students. And the third would be food for the students. This is in the action item as it was proposed to by the administration. So my first thought was, when doing simple math, is that enough money? If you took the average airfare of $200 per participant and you did maybe a 10% reduction in the 221 because some students arguably are already on the island of Kauai, everyone else has to fly in, that's like $42,000 alone in inter-island travel costs. And is that before you even get to the ground transportation, which they describe as using 5 charter buses to move everyone, in addition to the food for the students. So my first thought was, we're narrowly scoping. We went from use however you want to use for only these 3 items. So I'm not sure what the thought process with the administration was in that. The second one was, is this being underfunded? Now I know Kalo is putting in $66,100, so they're matching our 50 and putting in about $16,000 more, which is wonderful. But is it being underfunded? And let's say it is not being underfunded. Like the total cost of those three expenditures come out to anything less than $50,000, what happens to the balance? Does it get returned to OHA, even if it's $100? Because this board is explicitly directing the use of those $50,000 beneficiary trust funds for those three items.
So who is it going to?
That's why we're asking the questions. Yeah? So that would, if it's underfunded, does that come back to OHA? Because I'm sure at some point, whether it's Kalo doing their, end of year auditing or reporting on the use of funds, they're gonna provide to OHA how they use the $50,000 specifically for this conference on Kauai. And because the action item was done so narrowly, I don't know if that was purposeful or not, but if it's under, is the funds going to be returned versus if it was under, they could use it for some other funds associated with the conference. But that's not how the action item is written. So those are two of my concerns before getting into a couple other things. So maybe and I also previewed this to the administration yesterday, so there's no gotcha questions at the table. So hopefully we have a chance to hear from those things and feel comfortable passing it.
Yeah, mahalo. So I checked in with Taffy and Kalo yesterday, and what the three categories are in the action item were what they identified as how they wanted to expend the OHA funds, because they're also doing a match. So she gave me a fuller, more detailed budget of the total costs. And just for those three categories, so food, they have it at $25,000. Ground transportation, they have at $2,000. And then travel for both airfare and van rental, they had at $40,000. So the total for the three categories was $67,000, which is more than the 50 that we've allocated. So I don't think they're anticipating there to be a balance because they're actually covering some of those three categories with the Kalo money. But if there was somehow a balance, they have another category of facilities the travel costs for kupuna. So they have 4 kupuna that they would pay for to come in and attend the conference if there were somehow a balance.
So I guess my question would be, would you want to have that in as an amendment to the action item? So it gives them the flexibility to shift, if there is a balance, into another category versus what is explicitly being approved by the board.
My question is, where is Kalo getting their $67,000? Are we taking money out of the budget for Kalo versus all the other charter schools?
Turn your mic, yeah. Can you repeat that?
My question is that, where is Kalo getting the money from? Are they taking out of their budget for that school in Waimea versus all the other charter schools not participating, for example? So we don't want to hurt Kalo, And I'm just curious where that money is coming from. Are they matching, or are we paying the whole thing, $67,000? Is that the question on this table? Because we only have $50,000 on our agenda. If we want to increase it to make it $67,000 so that Kalo doesn't have to pay anything,
Well,
what are we looking at?
Kalo is matching. Kalo is, according to their action item and their letter, is putting in $66,000 plus OHA's $50,000, correct? So this is.
Well, is that fair to Kalo?
It's a $116,000 conference. I don't know what conferences cost in
No,
previous years, so.
So
I know what you're saying,
Yeah.
is where are they getting those resources from?
Right.
Are they taking it from Kalo, or are each of the Hawaiian focused charter schools putting in a share? I don't know.
do you have that answer?
I don't want to speak for them because I did not ask them that, but Kalo anticipates expenses for this conference yearly, and so I'm going to infer that they write for other sources of funding as well to ensure that they can implement the conference each year, and possibly the schools utilize some of their OHA funding to cover some of the costs as well. But I can go back and check for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 3-day conference, right? 11th, 12th, 13th on Kauai. I mean,
It's cheap for $2,000 for food to pay for all those kids to eat.
yeah. So I guess that is a question, Anu, and I think it's a valid question. The other question I had, and this is really just of a technical nature, in looking at their letter, and I'm not trying to nitpick here, but it says 240 attendees from 17 schools, 13 students and 2 adults per participating kula. And I'm just looking at our funds because we are funding the students, right? So 13 students times 17 schools is 221 students. But if you just added in the 2 adults per 17 kula,
34.
that's 34. 221 plus 34 doesn't add up to 240. So there's I'm just asking. There's an inconsistency in the letter, the action item, and if there's additional kupuna or additional participants, obviously the number is higher.
Yeah, I think there's variations in how many students and staff the schools can actually send. So the 13 to 2 is the max that they were allowed to send. But some can't spare that many staff, or schools on Kauai might be able to send more just for the day. So there are variations in the actual attendee count, plus guests, like if OHA wanted to come. I think sometimes they offer spots to other partners. So I don't think that those numbers are exact.
Okay. The next question I had was, and you touched on it a little bit, was what role is OHA directly playing in the conference? Do you have a draft conference agenda? Is any OHA staff, yourself in particular, or others, planning to attend? Where in the pre-planning for this conference, did you or OHA have a seat at that pre-planning meetings, and were opportunities for OHA to actively participate, whether it was giving a presentation or the host trustee Ahuna being able to give welcome remarks or give a keynote? Is there a potential for Hawaiian registry card or any of those things that we would be able to participate in? Only because I see potentially 221 future Kanaka OEV leaders in one location, and I don't want OHA to miss out on being a part of that and touching their lives and helping them understand what OHA is. And so that was my question.
Yeah, so in the pre-planning, OHA was involved more in the leadership meeting part of the conference. So there's 2 things that happen simultaneously. The kids do their presentations and their ho'ike and their huaka'i, but then at the same time the school leaders meet, because it's a rare opportunity that they're all in the same place. And so I've been at the pre-planning meetings for that portion of it, and Trustee Ahuna has been in some of those as well. So that was our kind of pre-involvement. And then at the actual conference, the trustees are invited. I would just need to know who wanted to come because of food count, and then if trustees wanted to attend on the day when they're going to Mana, which is the Pacific Missile Range facility, we have to get clearance from the military for access. So I would need all the names of whoever was going to come for that. But trustees are welcome there. They have offered time for us to speak. I'm gonna request to attend along with Maki'ile, so that I can continue to go to the leadership meetings that happen there, and Maki'ile can pitch a ho'opio, answer any questions that the kids might have about the program. And then I forgot it. We had made a little bag. So because it's mostly kids there and they won't have their parents, we're going to send them home with the resources for adults. So flyers about DC Fellows, HRP, EOLA. It's all going to go in the swag bag that we're making, so that they can the kids can take home to their ohana. and then we can hand out for the staff as well that are there.
So two things come to mind. So a representative from OHA will be on the agenda to speak at the conference, whether it's a trustee or yourself, to address all the conference attendees, which is the teachers and the students, or just the teachers, or?
Yes, they are opening it up to whatever we ask them for.
Okay.
So I can do a session with the kids. A trustee or myself can address the convening. It's up to us.
Okay, so we'll default to trustee Ahuna if his schedule allows, and if it doesn't, then we'll see if one of the other trustees are interested in attending. I'm sure there's gonna be high school juniors there, right? So these are AHO PO candidates, so I think, you know, if we're able to even, you and Makile, can even touch on like a civics presentation, which is really what AHO PO is, right? Have the opportunity for those juniors there to apply, like online. You know, you only get people in that one space, right? And so if we need to help them technically to apply to the AHO PO program, which is coming right around the corner in June, right? When did the applications close for that?
They're gonna close mid-March.
Mid-March, so this
They're
is perfect.
they're live already. They're
live.
launched. Yeah.
So this conference is the 15th to the 17th?
Yeah.
11th to the 13th. So the deadline would be
Close.
after
Yeah.
the
They still
13th.
have time. Yes.
Still have time. My point is, let's see if we can get them to apply. Our goal should be every single junior that's there of Native Hawaiian ancestry that wants to apply, should apply, right? And so I would take advantage of that opportunity as well. I think that's really, really important. And I guess why I bring it up is like when you, and maybe it's the way the budget was approved and the request from the admin to move it into this funding mechanism. But I kind of look at this like one real big Ho'akoa'okoa sponsorship. I know it's legacy, but it kind of is, right? And maybe in the future it should be something we always do, right? Like Merry Monarch, Hula Festival, you know, Eriaikau, right? These legacy events that we do that are in our budget, this is one of them. And if you compare how much we're putting in, this by far exceeds any sponsorship that we do. CNHA's conference being 35,000, Merry Monarch being 25,000, everyone else it's like 15 and below. So a $50,000 event sponsorship is a big deal, but it's worth it because what they do is extremely important, and our Hawaiian focused charter schools are on the front lines of educating our next generation of Waiwi leaders. But from a budget perspective, maybe we should look at this being run through that legacy process and subsequent budgets rather than doing it how we're doing it now. Because in the past, we ran it through the Kalo contract.
Yes.
But once the Kalo contract facilities contract, which is currently live, comes to an end in the fall of this year, then next year, FY27, is gonna be different, right? Now, we could use the same model today that we're doing to move those funds over how the action item is proposed it to do, or we could look at it from a Ho'akoa'okoa perspective. Sure.
So I talked with Chantel about putting this in the advocacy contract that Kalo currently has, because it aligns with the actual intention of that funding. And so that was funding that came from a visit that our trustees did at Kanuoka Aina several years ago. And then from that, funding went to all 17 schools to craft a strategy around advocacy. And so this conference, we're going to fold into that because it is actually the student showcase of those efforts to create educational sovereignty. And so it's like one point in time in this longer effort that the schools do every year. So I get why it seems like it's an event sponsorship. And if you look at sort of the rubric that we apply to event sponsorships, it doesn't necessarily meet like those big criteria because it's not open to the public. So a lot of people won't know about it. They're not even invited. The numbers will always be limited to what the schools can host. And so it is an event, and it's sort of a larger strategy move. It's the way that the schools assert their mission-aligned educational sovereignty, and that's in direct alignment with our strategic outcomes. So I wouldn't want trustees to feel like it's not a good return on investment as an event because the numbers will always be small and because the publicity won't be wide. Like that flyer that they incorporated, it doesn't go out to a ton of people. And it really only goes to the 17 school leaders who then give it to maybe 1 or 2 staff. So it's not widely publicized on purpose. But I agree with the sentiment that it's an event that happens yearly that's in direct alignment with OHA's mission. And I just wouldn't want folks to think that it's not like a great event because it's small or because it's not widely publicized.
And I don't think this board would grade it as such, nor even require any grading criteria. It's just what is the mechanism for funding it? Like this potentially is one model or vehicle, or maybe there's something that we're not thinking of that can be used for that, right? And I mean, my hope is that future boards, right, these legacy funding events that we do are kind of baked into our annual appropriations budget, and given adequate trust resources, that these are things that are just consistently funded because they have been set. The board has set precedent over the years that we fund these events, and they are incredibly meaningful. You know, I know these keiki across the state, probably will never forget these once in a lifetime trips to the different islands to showcase the work that they're doing. So anyway, those are the questions I had. You had something, Chair?
I just want to say that 3 years ago, CEO Hasi and I went to this, and in Kauai. And it was very, very rewarding to see all the kids mingling in, the different schools. It's like they came from one school because they all have everything in common.
Yeah.
So I do know that it's a very valuable weekend for our keiki. And it's really, really worthwhile. And yes, it came out of the Kalo budget. So we gave Kalo money for distribution to the different 17 schools. And they distributed those checks. And the remainder was like a fee that we pay other nonprofits to do work. And she is so conscientious in using OHA's money. They don't keep it for their school. They use that money that we paid for fee for this conference. So they've been very considerate and very fruitful.
So if do you have an idea of when you might have like a draft agenda to share with the trustees? Because I do think if there's a trustee that has an appetite to go to Kauai.
But Trustee Ahuna is very, very active. Yeah.
So for the other trustees, if your schedule allows, March 11th to the 13th, maybe there's a preferred day or a preferred day not to go.
So in the materials that Kalo provided, they did give an agenda for the big buckets of activities. It doesn't have timings on them, but they gave the big things that are happening on each day. So on Wednesday, March 11th, the schools arrive. Their lodgings are really far from everything because hotel costs were exorbitant. And so they couldn't pay for hotels. They had to put everybody at Koke'e. So the travel time to and from the kids' lodgings is eating up a lot of the time. So they left some wiggle room on the first day to accommodate for that. So the only thing that's happening on the first day, Wednesday, is the opening ceremony and then dinner, and the first half of the schools are going to do their hula, oli, and meleho'ike. That is normally on one night, but it takes forever and the kids are exhausted by the end, so they decided to split it up. On Thursday, they're gonna have a gathering and breakfast at Kekaha, and then the whole conference goes on Huaka'i to Mana, which is the PMRF facility. They're gonna do different activities there, like Hana no Eao with Pupu Ni'ihau. And then the big thing that they're gonna do is some protocol around the iwi kupuna that are interred there. And for the Kauai kids, particularly the Kekaha kids, it's gonna be the closest opportunity that they get to their ancestral homeland of Ni'ihau, being in that location, and some of their kupuna are interred there. So that's the Thursday, and then they go back to Kekaha for dinner. So that would be the day that if anybody wanted to come, I would need the name soon so we could run it through for clearance, is Thursday, March 12th. And then Friday, March 13th is all the student presentations, so that's happening in Kekaha.
March 13th.
Yes.
Okay. So it sounds like March 13th might be a good day. And then will you let us, I'm sorry. March 13th is a Friday. Looks like it's a, what day, Paul?
It says, so they typically try to end around like 12 or 1 so that people can get on the planes
Okay.
to go home. But on Friday, the 13th.
Friday, March 13th.
So I'll get the exact times though.
Okay. Yeah, Thursday night.
Yeah. So Thursday night we'll also have the second half of the hula ho'ike too. Yeah.
Okay. So if there's a, we'll check with Trustee Ahuna, if there's an opportunity in the beginning to provide any just brief remarks, welcome on behalf of OHA, something like that, and then yourself and Makile or others will do some type of aho appeal, civics, very short, presentation or something to that effect, and then maybe provide some technical ability for students that want to sign up. If a student comes up right after you and says, hey, I'd love to sign up for this, then let's help them get signed up. Yeah.
Might I add a
Yeah.
suggestion
Trustee
too?
Kaka, go ahead.
I think it would be good also to include just brief, most basic of information as to when OHA was created, why we were created, what our mission is, and touch on the pillars of our strategic plan. And if there's any appropriate mea to bring, if there's keiki of a certain age that it would be appropriate to bring the owai o OHA or olaka'i coloring books and maybe even kawai olas and so forth. Or even fans, being that they're going to PMRF, those kawai ola fans, to have for them to use at that time or take home. Mahalo.
Sorry, and 119 students at Hilo High School, which is technically their Papa Iwa through Papa Umikumalua. So there's 603 total students as of yesterday, care of Kumukamana, who's in Okinawa at Navehi. So the Chair Emerita left. I was wondering if she wanted her questions answered. So what I had done, and we're having a meeting next week, Wednesday, and through Chair Galutaria, we're waiving the BAE agenda to the Board of Trustees so we can get everything done. I had put this on, this action item on next week, Wednesday's agenda as well, just in case there were any unanswered questions that we wanted to get answers from before voting. One of them in particular was if we needed to amend or make an amendment for the action item. So if there was less than $50,000 used, that the board is authorizing Taffy and Kalo to use those funds for kupuna transportation or other items. That would be one. And then the second one was Chair's Emeritus' question about where the other $66,000 are coming from. And to my original question was what they're proposing enough for the board to consider. So I'll wait for Chair Emeritus to come back and just answer a question, because we can defer this action item today and vote for final passage next week, Wednesday, since we have a meeting next Wednesday, and it is on the agenda. I made sure it was on there because that's being published now. Or we could pass it today. Really, I know there's timing in terms of the funding and Kalo. Is there any difference in passage today, financial services, Grace and the team versus passing next Wednesday? No, we had a discussion on the question that you had about the other $66,000, and she's gonna find out. And the other one, it would be if there needs to be a slight amendment to the action item, so that if there happened to be an underutilization of the 50,000 that this board is authorizing to use for kupuna travel or other items. And so what I was mentioning was we're having a meeting this coming Wednesday. I put this action item on that agenda as well, just in case we wanted to wait on making on it today as it is currently in front of the board. Have that answer come back from Taffy and consider if we need to make an amendment so that we don't have to go through this again. The other part is they're under a time crunch because March 11 is the event, and I know they want the board to pass it so our financial team can move on getting the funds to them. So the question to the admin was, is there any harm in holding today and passing it this coming Wednesday versus passing it today in its current form? Yeah, we're gonna put Keishan on the spot. Yeah,
I would propose an amendment to the 67,000 and pass that today.
okay.
And then ask the question, whether if there is any leftover, that it come back to us. Because to me, knowing what Taffy has done over all the years, she's budgeting it according to what it's gonna cost. And she did not expect probably this 50,000 from us. So I think the 67,000 is the total amount that they need for these three things that we're doing.
I mean, as they proposed, it is, and
Yeah.
I think if I'm not mistaken, it was 40K for the inter-island air transportation, 25K for the food, and 2K for the ground transportation.
Sorry, so it was, so the 40,000 for travel, it was 39 for the air, and then $1,000 van rental in addition to $2,000 ground transport buses. So they've got the buses plus one van and then air. But they have van rental and airfare categorized in one.
So I mean, you're not making a motion yet, but what you're suggesting is we increase it from 50 to 67.
Yes, and just pass it like that. And,
Wow.
you know, there's no question that they can use, if there's any extra money, use it for food or something's gonna run over. I don't think there's gonna be too much difference because I know Taffy's history of being so prudent with money, that she budgeted it for what she was proposing to pay for before we said we would give 50. So,
Okay. Chair Wahehe, you have any thoughts on that?
I like the motion the way it is.
Okay.
Chair, can I just add, after speaking and conferring with Chantel, also, it would be in our best interest to move this rather quickly to get the money to the entity. And in terms of the contract side, although we can process that rather quickly, to have something passed here might be in the best interest of expediting that process.
I'm okay with either, 50 or 67. So moved.
Yeah.
To the extent that the original motion has enough votes to move, then I think it's in Taffy's and the event organizers' best interest that that money be released for their immediate use, right? To the extent that we're considering amending the amount, I think we need concrete data that some of the assumptions that are being made at the table are in fact accurate in terms of like the increase from 50 to 67, because there isn't sufficient basis for entertaining something beyond $50,000 at this point in time, and the ask wasn't for more than $50,000 at this point in time. So I appreciate the generosity and the sentiment around that, but I think to be prudent with our own fiduciary responsibilities and assets, that if we're going to entertain that, then we verify and come back to the board with that information.
Right.
Okay. And let me clarify, this board allocated and approved $50,000, which was up from the 40,000 from previous years. And that amount of money we had correspondence back and forth with Taffy about how that particular sum was necessary for them to proceed with this conference. So I'm going to amend my use of like they requested. This is the allocation that they were anticipating, expecting, planning their conference around. And this final action item reflects that engagement.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Are we okay moving forward? I'm okay. I think it is a valid question for Taffy to answer Chair Emeritus' question about the additional funds that they're using for the conference. Oh, she did? Okay, great.
So Taffy said that the additional 66,000 that Kalo contributes comes from their reserves and their operations funding.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. All right, ready to vote? Yes. Okay. Roll call?
Trustee Ahuna is excused. Trustee Akaka.
Aye.
Trustee Akina.
Aye.
Trustee Alapa.
Aye.
Trustee Galutaria is excused. Trustee Lindsay.
Aye.
Trustee Souza. Aye. Trustee Waihe'e.
Yes.
Chair Kahele.
Aye.
You have 7 yes votes.
Okay, thank you. We're now moving on to the Committee on Investment and Land Management. We have 2 action items, recognizing Chair Souza for the ILM Committee.
All right, Mr. Chair. That up on the screen. Right there. Yep. Okay, Mr. Chair, I'd like to move for the approval of the Native Hawaiian Trust Fund Investment Policy Amendment. And this is a incorporation of investment land policies and update to Hawaii investment lands allocation range. I'd like to make note that this is the first reading.
Okay. Do you have any testifiers on this action item?
There's no one signed up to speak.
Yeah, Chair,
I did,
Trustee Waihe.
Have a question, Ryan. Is this the one that increases the what was that? What do you call it? The direct investments to 30%. What's it? Is the second one? It's not this one. Is it? I didn't.
This is not the action item you're referring to,
Okay.
Trustee Waihe.
Okay.
Right.
Do you have any discussion on this? And Chair Souza, this
When
is
was-
first reading?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
This will come before the board again then.
Yes, sir. Policy.
Wait, this one. Yeah, it says, well, I think I'm right. It says approval of the trust land policy, incorporation of investment land policies, an update to investment land allocation range. That's how it's described. I have a question about that, whatever that
yeah.
is.
Mr. Chair, is okay.
Is that-
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Hey, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
No, because this occurred to me, Ryan, and I'm not pushing or advising anything. I'm just wanting to clarify it, and it might put some of the testimony that was brought yesterday into a different kind of context. Okay, so in theory, if our like our money investment, the money investment part of our portfolio, if that increases in value at a higher rate than the direct investments, does the direct investment percentage end up lowering in that case? Oh,
That is correct. So there are two components, right, to that calculation. So if financial assets market values go up and there's no change to values for the Hawaii investments, then that ratio, right, would actually go down.
so I mean, and if we're doing things right, that should happen, right? Like you wouldn't expect it to stay the same as, or move at the same rate as the direct investment values. You'd expect it to get more valuable faster and go higher.
Ideally correct. We're just adding a buffer in case there could be market volatility on the financial asset side that if markets go down, then that percentage with Hawaii investment lands would go up, right? So we're just accounting for some of that volatility. But the intention is not to.
I guess my question is, why wouldn't we just keep the direct investment target at 20%, and the way we fix it is by, trying to increase all the money assets much higher to lower it down to 20%.
But that takes time. But in terms of where the current policy is at, right, in terms of the range, it's the max limit is 20%, and Hawaii investment lands is currently at 26%. So we're currently out of compliance. So we need to address that.
What happens when, let's say, what I suggestion happens, and then some idiots in the future say, well, no, now we got to raise this back up to 30 because that's the number that's there, and we don't want to do that.
Yes, so within the real estate strategy that you folks approved, that there is accession in terms of managing the concentration risk, right? Meaning not to have too much Hawaii real estate exposure. So within one of the sections in the acquisition, speaks to about not to acquire additional investment lands if it'll take it over 20%, right? So you can use that as sort of a guide not to add more investment lands if it will continue to if that percentage is above that 20% level that's already been set. And we'll be reporting this on a quarterly basis, and ideally on an annual, we'll revisit to adjust accordingly.
Okay, all right.
Vice Chair, did you get your questions answered? Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it. Well, Mr. Chair.
Trustee Ahuna is excused. Trustee Akaka. Trustee Akina. Trustee Alapa. Trustee Galutaria is excused. Trustee Lindsay.
Aye.
Trustee Souza. Trustee Waihe'e. Chair Kahele. You have 7 yes votes.
Okay, Chair Souza. Second item on your.
Mahalo, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move for the approval of amendments to the Native Hawaiian Trust Fund spending policy to implement a hybrid spending methodology and related revisions.
Lehua, do you have any testimony? Trustees, any discussion on this?
Could you ask Ryan to come to the table?
Sure. Hey, Ryan.
Ryan, can you explain what is hybrid spending methodology?
Basically, what it means is that we're having a separate spending calculation for financial assets, right? So financial assets maintains the current spending at up to 5% based on the 20-quarter rolling average. Whereas Hawaiian Investment Lands, we're going to be looking at what the investment property produces, the income. So we're spending off of income that has been distributed to OHA as an owner's distribution. So that's sort of a separate calculation. So we're not spending on market value for investment lands, just on the income that it produces.
So, no income, no spending?
That protects the financial asset piece of it, and part of having that real estate strategy is to make sure we have income, and that would be the definition of distributed income.
I see. So we could then possibly spend money we don't have.
That would not be correct.
Okay,
So basically,
so-
you would not be spending money off of the real estate, investment real estate piece of it if it's not generating any income.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to that. So I guess the 30%, the lease rent or whatever may be generated from those properties will be contributing to the 30%. So if we don't have it, we're not spending it prematurely anyway. Right?
Correct. Yes, just income that those lands generate is what's going to be used for the spending budget, right? Part of the biennium budget.
So do we have a cap to that spending budget? That a percentage, let's say?
There is no cap on that income.
No, of spending, not income.
Spending off of investment lands, or
Yes.
there is no cap on that, right? So you're basically spending on the income that it distributes.
I see. So we could be spending all that we make.
There is a definition in terms of how it's spent. So basically, when income lands produce income, for example, a certain amount is held for capital reserves. Certain amounts is held back to maintain a debt covenant, right? So it's the amount that can be distributed, like free cash flow back to the owner. That's considered what we can actually spend.
Okay. Confusing, but accepted.
Mahalo, Chair Lindsay. Mahalo, Ryan.
Trustee Ahuna is excused. Trustee Akaka.
Aye.
Trustee Akina.
Aye.
Trustee Alapa. Trustee Galuteri is excused. Trustee Lindsay. Trustee Souza.
Aye.
Trustee Waihe'e.
Yes.
Chair Kahele. You have 7 yes votes.
Okay. Sure. If so for the approval of minutes for items A through E as a block, unless there's any comments for edits and so forth. Okay. Okay. Yes.
Trustee Ahuna is excused. Trustee Akaka.
Aye.
Trustee Akina.
Aye.
Trustee Alapa. Yes. Trustee Galuteri is excused. Trustee Lindsay. Aye. Trustee Souza.
Aye.
Trustee Waihe'e. Yes. Chair Kahele.
Aye.
You have 7 yes votes.
Okay, last item on our agenda is community concerns and celebrations. Do we have anyone signed up to speak?
No one is signed up to speak.
Okay, great. Trustees, we're to announcements. Any announcements? Trustee Kaka.
Well, Kugi Facho, everyone. It's that time of a new year renewal. Also, I wanted to highlight this past Saturday, again, Lāma Kukui. It was a marvelous coming together. And I also wanted to mahalo those that made that day possible. And also wanted to have on the screen there was a slideshow of photos that were taken by Nelson, and I think it really greatly highlights the attendance of that day and those that were honored and the many participants. And I wanted to highlight and mahalo again, all that made that day possible, as well as Trustee Ahuna and his team with the certificates, administration, getting that all together, our Hawaiian Cultural Affairs team, Lāma Ileana, as well as our community engagement team members, Ka'imo, Myra, Star, and our Ahahui Olelo Hawaii, Uncle Dr. Larry Kawanoi Kimura, Kumu Sarah Kiahi, and also alongside them were Kiki of the two other originators of this group, which was very nice. And in attendance with our Manaleo, there were those that ranged of upper age from 77 to 98, and I understand one of the youngest there was Kavena Kikina, the daughter of Keone Shan, our COO, and she is also with the Aho Punana Leo, Haumana there. And I also want to highlight, again, all those that participated, the attendees, being able to hear and see our Olelo Makuahine spoken and enjoyed there was so very nice. Oh, there's Kahu over there, Tai Lama. And the certificates provided to our honorees was so very special and appreciated. And just the overall joy, the joy felt there. And I wanted to highlight as well some of the events that day beyond the certificates provided was the Alola Hawaii speech competition, the Hakumele competition, and also there were different breakout groups that were assigned via Hui Manu, so Alala, and so forth. And it was so nice to just walk around and be able to see our people enjoying our mother tongue. And I think that we should do that again.
Looks fantastic, and so many hands part of this, but obviously Hailama
Yes.
and Ileana.
He is on the screen. Yes.
That's a fantastic job.
He did an amazing job running that show and keeping things moving, and it was such a joyous day of love and love for our language, being that it was on February 14th, the St. Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Well, there's
Wonderful.
some of the attendees, but our atrium was just filled with our language and with our people and those that have so much aloha for our Olelo Makuahine that day. Mahalo.
Awesome. Trustees, any other announcements? Trustee Wahe? Your hand was raised, Trustee Wahe. Oh. Okay, Chair's announcement, our next Board of Trustee meeting will be on Wednesday, February 25th, 2026. It'll be at 9 a.m. and with Chair Galatera's concurrence, we'll be waiving BAE right to the board. So we're just meeting once. And that'll be on Wednesday at 9. And then my second announcement is fresh off our Human Resources page, posted this morning, is our Washington, D.C. Bureau Chief position for our Chief Federal Policy Advocate. That is now on our OHA.org jobs webpage. So closing date March 4th, and we'll see if there's any interested applicants to serve and reestablish our D.C. Bureau Chief office in Washington. Can I get a motion to adjourn? All right, any discussion on that? Roll call vote, Leo.
Trustee Ahuna is excused. Trustee Akaka.
Aye.
Trustee Akina.
Aye.
Trustee Alapa. Trustee Galuteri is excused. Trustee Lindsay. Trustee Souza. Trustee Waihe'e.
Yes.
Chair Kahele.
Aye.
You have 7 yes votes. We are adjourned.